Hello and welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about Doom 2016. Yes, that's a game that came out a decade ago now, 10 years ago, if I upload this on the correct day. Um, and I actually have only just played it now for the first time this year. And it's been an interesting experience. You'll see I'm just gonna have the footage probably sitting next to me somewhere, overlaid on here, so there's that to watch. But it. I'm playing the Switch version. That's what you're seeing. So I'm sure load times are maybe a little longer. Visuals might be not as nice as some of the other versions. But from what I've heard and what I can see, they did an impressive job of making this, really good. And just very, very few compromises to get it on the system, which is also very impressive. Um, and while this is my first time playing this, I can't exactly, look at it in terms of like, you know, is it as good as when it came out or anything like that. I think having this be my first experience with this Doom game now does make it kind of interesting to see, like, is this the kind of game that it is. I guess what I'm getting at with this kind of line of thinking is this game as good as everybody said it was and made it out to be at the time, or was it just that that's the kind of game that people were desperately craving in 2016, and in 2026 maybe we've gotten more games to kind of satiate that appetite to the point where is this still satisfying people in the same way it once did? Are people were they starved, or is it something they actually just genuinely liked that much on its own right? That's kind of a thought to keep in your head, I guess, slightly. So, I don't have a whole lot of preamble, I don't think, for this other than to say that while I haven't played all these other Doom games that have come out since then or anything, this is my first time playing this one. Actually, I have played pretty much every damn Doom game just about that came out, before this. Doom 2, Doom 64, Doom 3, and a lot of the extra level packs and things that came out with, like, Doom plus Doom 2 and master levels for Doom 2, the Ultimate Doom, Final Doom, all that good stuff. I played a bit of Brutal Doom even a little bit, so, like, I have some background in Doom in that sense. So you may have seen some of that stuff. I'm coming at it from someone who has played Doom before. And this game starts off with, well, I guess this kind of will also explain some of my perspective on here. So the game kind of just starts off, and I selected the easiest mode because I'm a weenie. And you just kind of wake up in this facility. You're the Doom Slayer, and you just wake up, and immediately demons start attacking you. So you start fighting them. It's a first-person shooter still. That's still the core gameplay stuff here. So you are shooting demons, and there's kind of funny moments here in the beginning where this authority figure tries to kind of be like, hey, I can help you out with this stuff, and you really don't want anything to do with it. You're just kind of here to kill everything. And you pretty much, Doom Guy will pretty much ignore all of that until he basically needs some kind of guidance. And at that point, then he'll start to listen because he has to for, progress. I mean, like, there are also lots of little, like, codexes and things around. You can even also read those in your menus for extra story and lore and all that stuff. I didn't bother with that, and if you want to know about that, you'll have to play and read that yourself. Especially after Doom 3, I was like, you know what? I'm ready to just kind of play through this game and actually kill some stuff and do some things. And that seems to be sort of the attitude that the Doom Slayer was going for anyways. So, that's fun. That's good. I like that. I mean, a lot of the basic combat stuff is kind of what you'd expect for a first-person shooter like this. You run, you crouch, you jump, you shoot. When you swap weapons, interesting thing is that, like, you have, like, a weapon wheel that comes up, and, like, it slows time, so you don't pause time or, like, cycle through a big inventory or anything. It's a way to kind of make it so you're still kind of always in the action in that sense. And also, like, there's also no reloading, which is kind of a classic throwback, where it's like, yeah, you don't really reload your weapons. You just kind of keep shooting them, and, like, they naturally will reload when you're they'll either overheat or they're empty of stuff, and then they'll have to reload a thing there or whatever. They just kind of automatically do that, so you're not really thinking about that and managing ammo clips and all that. You're just kind of managing more so max ammo and what the weapons are doing. But it is very fast. It's much faster than any of the previous games. That's for sure. And that also extends to the enemies as well, who are very, very fast. So pretty much all this combat is very quick. Mostly you'll be doing arena battles, so you'll go into an area and then enemies will start spawning in all around you, and you've got everybody is some semblance of a threat to you in some way. I mean, imps are pretty weak, but they're very quick. They can throw projectiles at you. They can run up to you, really fast, and also run away from you. They can, basically outrun you almost. They're very quick. They can jump on walls and stuff. Most demons can jump all around, even like a mancubus, big lumbering thing that can, takes a lot of damage and can shoot, explosives and stuff at you. Those fuckers can leap over to ledges and stuff too, so you can't just sit in a place anywhere and kind of cheese it or anything. You can't sneak around. You can't sit around. Enemies will group up on you. They'll use team tactics on you and things. So you do have to actually focus on certain enemies and keep moving. You have to pick priority targets, who's fast, who's strong, who's a threat, and also consider, how open or closed is this area, how big or small is this arena that you're fighting in. So everyone still stays really interesting with all the recurring demons. Everyone still has a different look, a different way that they fight, and a different priority depending on your situations and your ammo. So combat can be very evolved in the moment, making these split decisions of what you should do. On top of that, some extra stuff with your combat. One of the biggest additions here is called glory kills. And this is when you basically get an enemy weak. They become staggered. They'll be glowing. If you get close enough to them and do a melee attack, you'll perform a little mini cutscene of killing them. That's a glory kill. And when you do that, you're invulnerable while you're doing it, and that means that the enemy will drop health. So that's going to be the main way you're going to want to replenish your health in the middle of a scuffle. And you also have to be careful with that, because obviously if you just go in and do that, you are going to be stuck in that that one spot for a second, so enemies can kind of group up there. So if you try to just glory kill a bunch of enemies or something in a row, you might end up getting surrounded. You have to kind of be mindful of that stuff. Also, they introduced the chainsaw in a new way, where it's kind of like a hot swap item. So you can take that out, and it has only so many uses for how much gas it has. It's an instant kill for an enemy, but the bigger the enemy, the more fuel that it uses to kill them. The main thing is that when you kill an enemy with a chainsaw, they drop a bunch of ammo. So these are basically being used as your main ways to get health and ammo back in these fights and kind of manage that. So it's all part of the dynamic of going quickly and making split decisions and that quick combat stuff. It all kind of comes together in that way. Everything seems to be at the core. That's where this game's strength is definitely in that very fast, very chaotic combat. That once you gotta reach a state of flow and figure it out, and again because you're really fast, enemies really fast, and things move quickly, and you gotta kind of stay on top of everything. And I'm sure at real difficulties that actually gets pretty difficult. But that's not all there is to it. There's a bit more to it there. As well. So there's also the aspect of it's still going level by level in a more classic Doom kind of fashion. And in these levels, you can go to your pause screen and look at this map. There are these challenges you can do for each level. There are secrets to find in the levels, and there's progress of how many different secrets and things you've found. There are different items and collectibles and power-ups and things that you can get throughout. So there's also the semblance of exploration and getting things. Most of the collectibles you're getting are things to upgrade yourself. You can upgrade your weapons. There are mods you can get. Each weapon has a total of 2 different mods you can get. And you can upgrade those modifications to do different things to improve them and make the different kinds of modifications better. Although the final tier of those upgrades do require you to actually do something with that weapon usually. So there's also that use it to get it kind of thing being thrown in there as well. So there's there's a good arsenal at your disposal, and different ways to use weapons, different ways to play. A lot of different, like, certain weapons are going to be good for certain enemies or areas, scenarios. Again, there's a lot of that to kind of consider. Again, on the fly, you may need to replay and recheck things to do that. You even end up getting a double jump, and so there's more like actual platforming and doing some of that in here as well for the exploration aspect of it. And like I mentioned, the little codexes you can find to get more information on things. Some of these upgrades can be for just like passive things to make it, like you can, like see more on your map or whatever, and like you can throw your grenades and stuff faster, things like that. There are also these upgrades you can find for your suit that basically will increase, and these are, I think there's at least one per level, I believe, where they can increase your either your maximum health, armor, or ammo. And then there's like a little like collectible, Doom Guy dolls that you can get that will just unlock high res like images or whatever, models of like the weapons and the enemies in the game. And you can also get these upgrades of runes, which are, again, other like passive upgrades, but they're pretty, significant ones that will increase your abilities and just make things that you do more fruitful. Like improving the kinds of jumps you get or getting better drops from like glory kills, things like that. And even those can be upgraded further by completing, certain tasks while using them. However, to get the runes in the first place, because you can equip up to 3 of those, but to get them in the first place, you actually have to find a rune trial in a level, and then do the rune trial, which is just like a mini challenge. It's like outside of the level. It's in this weird other realm thing, so it's just like a little mini challenge, and it's like in this area with like, a fixed loadout and usually a tight time limit, and can you complete this task? And if you can, you get the rune, and then you can equip it. You can replay those anytime you want, or retry them if you happen to just like, I want to move on and come back to them. You can do that in the back in the main menu after you've at least found them in the levels. Similarly, there are also these hidden levers in the levels that will open up these doors that have these little mini throwbacks to classic Doom maps. If you find those, not only do you get a secret, but also then you can go back to the main menu and replay those levels. The full levels from the main menus, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But essentially, that's like, a lot of that is, again, you're exploring and finding these different things to help make yourself better, and so that it'll be easier to do the rest of the thing while you're between these combat sections. And I think that both of these things are cool, especially like exploring stuff is also pretty neat when it's like these levels are very well detailed. There's some really cool scenery here. Some of these environments are awesome. However, I think that while the exploration stuff is fun and the combat is fun, the problem is that these two things are mashed together rather than being blended. They just kind of, I guess they're like this instead of like this. Because it's like doing the combat stuff was all about keep moving. You can't stop. Gotta keep moving. Gotta keep killing stuff. Gotta keep doing things. Standing still is death. It's bad. Don't do it. Keep on moving. And enemies keep on spawning. You just keep on doing that until the encounters are done. And then you go to the other part of the game, and it's like, all right, I gotta look all around. I gotta take my time to find look nooks and crannies for things. Gotta find levers. Gotta find little collectible things sitting around. I gotta pick up codexes and go to my menu to read them, and go to my map to look at all my stuff. And I, check out my challenges, check out my upgrades, and it's like do my little checklists. And these two things just are at odds with each other. They don't really work together very well, which I think they could, but unfortunately they just kind of don't. And even the rune challenges are like, just kind of like, the challenges themselves kind of fit into it for like the action-y part, but they make you load into a totally different area to go do it, and then load back in and keep reloading to keep retrying, and it just kind of takes you out of it. And that's a shame, because I think these things could have been blended together in a really cool way, and they just kind of weren't. And I don't really know why, unless they just didn't know how to do it. And I will also admit that I think that the the combat, while it's fun, does get a little samey near the end. There are a few bosses and things to fight too, which does liven it up a bit. But essentially, once you're near the last half of the game or so, at least the last third, I would say, you get to this point where like, okay, so I know kind of how to handle these scenarios, and so it's not really that different. You pretty much tackle every arena fight the same way. They're not like really all that different other than the layout of the place that you're in, and sometimes the enemies, like what enemies show up when and how many and all that kind of thing. It doesn't vary that much, and that's sort of an issue because it does get a little samey. And also, again, it's like there's not a whole lot of sections where it's like, oh, like other Doom games are like you were kind of going through and like as you're exploring, there's some enemies hanging out in these places, and you kill a few dudes and you keep going. And there's times when you're doing some exploration and like moving around and stuff while you're also fighting some dudes and things. But here it's kind of just like fight enemies in an arena, go explore to find the next arena to fight more enemies. It feels like find things, get the lore, do whatever. Okay, now enemies are here. Another minor gripe I have, which it's not a huge thing, but I think it's a misstep that a lot of first-person shooters do, especially a lot of these classic first-person shooters that I've played have done it, and this seems to have taken a page out of that book, where there are multiple weapons that will use the same ammo, and I feel like that's a mistake. Having the shotgun and the super shotgun use the same ammo means that I'm probably only going to use one of them because once the ammo's out for one, the other is also empty. I'm not going to be like switching from one to the other most of the time. Something like that. That kind of thing just isn't a great design idea. And so, yeah, I almost never used the regular shotgun once I got the super shotgun. I pretty much never used a plasma rifle almost ever, I think, because I had like the, whatever the big Gauss cannon. Yeah, I never used a plasma rifle because I had the Gauss cannon. Like, stuff like that kind of makes it feel a little like, okay, maybe we could have just gave everything its unique ammo so we would use the different things, but maybe that's a me problem. I don't know. Maybe other people don't have that issue. But I didn't really care for that. But as far as like the main game stuff then too, overall that stuff I think did, at least it was fun. I didn't like have a bad time playing it. It just took a while to really like get it and be like, oh, this is what the game is, okay. And like once I adjusted to it, I wouldn't say that I necessarily liked that it did that stuff, but at least I was like, okay, well, this is the way it does things, this is the way it's going to be. I just really wish they would have blended instead of mashing. As far as some of the extra stuff, I will say also that I did try out some of these classic levels, like I was mentioning. So when you get those classic levels unlocked, you can go back to the main menu and you can play the full classic Doom levels. I think there's like a couple from Doom 2. And you play through those, and they're the same like levels and layouts, but you're playing with, this game's mechanics. And so they have more modern enemies thrown in there. It's fairly boring. It's a neat nod, but you don't get anything for it. It doesn't feel particularly great to play. And so it just, if you are like, oh, these are cool, just play the original Doom instead. It'll be more fun than doing this. I don't know. I found it very empty, very, very weak. Like, I guess it's more content, but just because it's something to do doesn't mean that it's good or fun. But maybe that's just me. I didn't really care for him. And then there was the online. I'd like to talk to you about that, but I can't say much because it's dead. I couldn't find any games. I'm sure there's a bunch of other game modes to play, but I couldn't play any of them because no one was on. And, I mean, that's probably not that surprising for a game that's a decade old and not a super popular online shooter or anything like that. I don't think the Call of Duty crowd was necessarily jumping over to Doom, but I will say that I did do at least a few bot matches, and again, there's some cool matches, cool maps there, some cool looking places, and like it plays pretty well. It's cool that you can still play with bots, and like that's a future-proofing thing you could have. I'm sure if you could play with people online or locally or something and have some bots in there too, like it could still be a lot of fun, I'm sure. for like parties and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely not the kind of online experience you'd want. Like if you're someone who's like, I'm gonna dig in and play a bunch of hours of this online shooter. This is not the kind of game that's really built for that. I don't think. I mean, like all I really got to do is like deathmatch and like team deathmatch. That's all I really got to try. And they did have an interesting thing where, like in team deathmatch, where you could like temporarily take control of demons. They have these things where like there's, um, every once in a while things will just like power ups or like special items will like weapons or things will like spawn into the map. That's kind of cool, but yeah, I think it would definitely benefit greatly from other human players or just people playing with their friends or something. It would benefit from a player base, which it just at this point doesn't really have. So don't get this game for that. And at the end of all this, I guess I'm kind of surprised that I'm not as blown away by it as everybody else on the internet seems to be. A lot of people loved it, and I don't think it's because it's not like some people going back and being like, oh, after I've played Doom Eternal, this is so much worse. I haven't played Doom Eternal, so it's not that. I have played previous Doom games. The thing is, I think for me is that like I guess I just feel like it just kind of misses the mark a bit on what it's trying to do here. It kind of is at odds with itself a bit. And while it's cool, and it's faster than Doom 3, it's got a lot of good stuff going for it. It just didn't really bring everything together to wow me. Like, oh, this is an amazing game. It's definitely no 10 out of 10 experience from me. Some people have mentioned the music's really good. I mostly didn't hear a lot. I mean, I played it a bit. I played it with headphones for a little bit, but it just kind of felt like, it was a lot of, usually the music ramps up when you're fighting a bunch of monsters, so you don't really hear it anyway. You just kind of hear like drums, and then enemies are, getting ripped apart and whatever. You don't really listen to the music when you're doing that. So, I didn't really have much of an opinion on it other than like, I think it was metal in the background. But yeah, I don't think this game is all that great. So the weirdest part I think about this whole thing is that I'm also probably would still recommend this to people though, a little bit, because the action in it is good. I think if you like that part, you can kind of ignore the collecting stuff and doing whatever. You can make it harder on yourself, do whatever, and just go in balls to the wall. And I think you could have a good time. I think if you want to challenge yourself to that and play in higher difficulties too, I think you can have a good time. I don't know that like, I don't know that's like it's a great game or anything, but it's very good. It's very polished, and the ideas here are solid. And I think that if they can marry those things together in Doom Eternal, when I eventually play that, because I probably will, that would be great. Then that would probably be an awesome game. I guess what I would ask you guys if you're watching this right now is about this is like, how do you feel about this game? And like also maybe let me know when was the last time you actually played through it, because I'm sure a lot of people haven't played it for a long time. But like, what am I missing that's so great about this game that other people really love? That's what I would like to know. Because I'm not here to say like this game is bad. I don't think it's bad. I think a lot of this is also me. I'm not very good at it. If I was better and playing on higher difficulties, it'd probably be quite a rush because it would be a lot harder, and I'd have to try really, to use all my skill and everything. It's kind of like built from the ground up to be like that feeling of people who played Doom and Doom 2 a zillion times and just got so good at it they could just blast through it because they knew where every enemy was and how everything reacts and everything. They were pros at it. They kind of wanted to give you that feeling in this game right out of the gate, and that's just how you play at minimum. And I think in that sense, they really nailed it. And I think if that's what you're looking for the combat at least, Doom 2016 is great. It nails it. But I would love to have more perspective on this because I definitely feel like I'm missing something here, and this is one where I don't think everybody's wrong. I do think it's just me not getting it. And I love to hear people explain what this is, even if I don't necessarily feel that the same way, even if I don't agree with you. I would love to know what you feel, why you think that, so I can at least understand the love for this game a little bit more than I do right now. I think that's all I really have to say though, is I just kind of threw this together quick. Sorry my voice is a little shot because I recorded this slightly after recovering from being sick, but hopefully it was kind of somewhat interesting. Again, I will get to Doom Eternal since I have it, so I will eventually get to that as well. I've heard that's very good. I've heard a lot of people say it's better, so maybe I like that more. Hopefully this was somewhat interesting. Again, sorry for the lighting and everything, and the just throwing the screen up over there. Not my most professional review, but it was. I'm not a professional, so whatever. I'm a real person. That's what we do around here, I guess. So yeah, and who knows? I mean, hopefully it'll at least be. I almost have to play Doom Eternal before that's 10 years old, right? Like I can't just let every Doom game sit for that long. Unless they put out another Doom game, they're like, hey, let's re-release more shit. Let's just put out more new shit for the first Doom. And I'll be like, yes, let me just play through every single Doom thing again first, and then play that, and then maybe I can get to Eternal. That's something I probably don't need to do yet, but we're just taking life as it comes. And I will also leave you with the fun little tidbit that when I got to the final boss of the game, it glitched on me. So you're supposed to get a glory kill on it, but it didn't. It didn't let me do it. It just kind of sat there, and I couldn't do anything, and I had to reload and do the entire boss fight over, which is apparently something that's been a bug in the game for years and is still not fixed. So that takes the wind out of your sails a little bit, but when you're playing on the easiest difficulty, it doesn't really matter. It was not that hard to do again. So I mean, there's a bright side to being the weeniest Doom Slayer in hell.